Welcome back, third grade scientists. Today, we are going to review some science vocabulary from Unit 2 on inheritance and variation. Let's get going. We will review together the academic and content vocabulary for lessons from this unit of study. We will study word meanings and look at examples to help you understand the work you will be doing during your science lessons this week. Here we go. We will take a look at both academic and content vocabulary. Academic are the words that you might find in the questions or focuses for the lessons. These can be found across your other subject areas in school as well. The content words will be words that are specific to inheritance and variation, and they will help you in understanding your science lessons. Academic vocabulary. These are some of your lesson objectives for the week. Today, you will be able to answer a series of short response questions to demonstrate what you've learned about inheritance and variation. Today, you will be able to classify things as living or non-living. Notice that the words demonstrate and classify are highlighted in red. These are the words we will take a look at. Before we study these words more closely, think about whether or not you've ever heard or read these words somewhere before. Do you think you know what they mean? Our first word is classify. Classify is a verb or an action word. It means to group in order or in classes. In other words, it means the same thing as arrange and order. Here is an example of ways to classify or sort animals. So you can see the different classifications, vertebrae, invertebrate, and what the animals have in common with one another. Demonstrate is also a verb. It means to explain or describe, especially by modeling or using examples. Teachers do this while they're teaching you all day long. Another word that means the same thing is to show. Here is an example of someone who is demonstrating how to do something. If you've ever flown on an airplane before, right before takeoff, a flight attendant will demonstrate what to do in case of an emergency. Let's take a look at the content vocabulary. We're going to look at some of the important content words for this week's lessons. These are some words that you will learn about during your lessons this week: inherited, environmental, predator, variation, and offspring. Before we move on, think about whether or not you've ever heard or read these words somewhere before. What do you think they mean, and can you think of any examples? Our first word is inherited. Inherited is a verb or an action word. Inherited means to receive through a parent's genes. Let's look at some examples. These are examples of inherited traits in animals: their eye color, the shape of their ear, the fur and the skin color of a bear, the quails on a porcupine. Environmental is an adjective. Environmental describes everything that surrounds a particular type of living thing and affects its growth and health. Here are some examples of environmental traits. Cassandra noticed that her sister Thelma had a scar above her wrist. Thelma's scar is an example of an environmental trait. It's not something that she inherited from her parents. It happens as a result of something in the environment. Destiny started taking piano lessons last year, so she has to keep her fingernails short. Her short fingernails are not an inherited trait, they are an environmental trait as a result of her piano lessons. Predator is a noun. Predator is an animal that hunts other animals for food. Did you know that cats are an important predator on farms where they kill destructive rodents? Variation is a noun. Variation is the act or process of varying or the state of being varied or changed. Let's look at an example. Here you see variation in a species of dogs. While these are all dogs, you can see something different about each of them: the shape of their face, their eye color, their hair color, all examples of variation within the species. Offspring is a noun. It is the child or young of a particular human, animal, or plant. For example, a lamb is the offspring of a ewe. These were some awesome words, and now that you're familiar with them, you'll be able to use them and understand them during your learning. Keep learning, keep growing. Great work, third grade scientists.